I don't really want it. Hey, if I speak like this, can you hear me? I'm better off without that. Good. So Martin Luther King famously said the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And it's a very optimistic view, considering that at the time that he said it, there had been no results from all that marching. But it's the kind of thing you say to people to keep them marching, even though you know they may never see any results. 3 generations ago, about 5% of those who started high school ended up with a college degree. Now 86% of the people who start high school end up with a college degree, I suspect. It's 86% who start college, finish college. 35% get a college degree, and for this group, it'll be much higher. Why the change? Well, societies change when they see needs. So it almost acts as if it's an intelligence. If you see developing technologies, advancements in medical science, anything it is that the society believes that it wants and needs, it will manifest those things. It works very much like the free hand of the market in capitalism. The difference being with capitalism has a very clear motive, profit, whereas societies, their motivations are varied, and the desire for status is at least as powerful as any other motivation, which is why when segregation is coming to an end, when the Supreme Court said it is not constitutional in 1954, rather than societies changing in this very positive way, 3 southern states closed their schools. Because in their view, this change did not benefit them. So when a group of students in Little Rock are trying to desegregate the schools, there is tremendous opposition. We'll come back to them in a second, but if you look now, if you search for educational attainment by race, you'll see that the gaps have narrowed dramatically, but the gaps are still there. You see white, Black, Latino. If, however, you search for educational attainment by sex, you'll see something pretty amazing. And that is that whereas women were only 10% of the college graduates 3 generations ago and men 20%, now 36% of those getting college degrees are men, 46% are women. That's a fairly enormous shift in a very, very short time, and there were no marches or protests. And even though most of the statues, well, almost all of them for anyone is male, none of them had to come down. Except for it did take marches and protests, sort of. Because the civil rights movement, even though it was looking for racial equality, the crowning glory of that was the 1964 Civil Rights Act. And a Southern politician tried to kill that bill by adding women to the protected class. Well, it backfired. The bill passed, and as a result, women became a protected class under the Civil Rights Act. And therefore, opportunities started to grow for women, and when they did, women started going more and more to college. The result is this tremendous change in a short time that no one saw coming. No one was even asking for. It would take a lot to explain why this is true, but as a result, the greatest beneficiaries of the 64 Civil Rights Act were white women. There's an interesting thing when we think about how education was established in the South in the first place, the thing that really led to the Civil Rights Act. Post-Civil War, white people couldn't vote. Women couldn't vote, obviously. White men couldn't vote because they had fought against the United States. they had to regain their citizenship. So for a short time, the only voters were Black, and they voted in Black legislatures. And one of the first things they did is create public education in the South. Public education already existed in the North, though. The South and the North being very different societies. Public education begins in the North in 1815. We don't get public schools in the South till 1878. But when they created those schools, they didn't make them two-tiered. They didn't say, well, we'll only provide this education for certain groups of people. They made it available to everyone. And then when the Reconstruction ends, those legislatures are out, and now schools become a weapon in trying to recreate a two-tier society. And that's why those gaps that we was talking about earlier still exist to a degree. Much narrower, but there. There's a moment when, in trying to desegregate the schools in 1954 in Arkansas, there's this really horrifying moment where 15-year-old Elizabeth Eckford there are 9 students who are going to desegregate the school, and she's separated from her group for some reason. She went the wrong direction, and she's surrounded by a crowd, a very angry crowd that's screaming at this 15-year-old girl who's only trying to go to school. It's very well documented. There's videos and there's pictures, very, very famous picture of another teenager and one of her classmates screaming at her. And I think about history and its strange quirks of fate when I think about that it was her ancestors who created the school that this crowd is now trying to keep her out of. And she's not doing this for herself, because the benefit of this education is going to take some time to come. In fact, if you look at graduation rates in the first 10 years of desegregation, for Black people, it plummets. They are not going to schools that are welcoming them, so they tend not to graduate from there. Several states have closed schools, so unless they could go to a private school, they weren't going to school at all. So you see this huge drop. But all the people are doing this, they're doing it for a future that they think of, that they can envision that's going to be better than what they have now. That when I think about Elizabeth Eckford doing this, and I think that the benefits aren't going to go to her, and she knows that, but she's hoping that they're going to go to her daughter. But it turns out it's really going to go more toward that girl who's screaming at her. It's her children and grandchildren who are going to get the majority of the benefit. Now, I know it doesn't seem like it, but this is evidence in furtherance of Dr. King's idea that the moral arc of the universe bends toward justice. Because even though the people who thought they were going to get the benefit don't, anytime the society improves in any way for anyone, it benefits everyone. It's messy. It may not seem fair, but change takes time, and it's hard. And what else can you do? Yes, the people were working for something different sooner. We'd all like the society to be better, however we envision that sooner. But any direction and any time you're moving toward a good direction, that is a bending of the arc toward justice. Yeah, it'd be nice if the rewards and the efforts were more equally distributed, but that's not the way things work. So the stink bomb that the grandparents of those students left them was bad, but it's nothing compared to what we have left these people. And of course, I am talking about climate change. 40 years ago, scientists told us that hey, we got this problem. And we could have incrementally, a little bit more each year, altered our behavior, and by now had a carbon neutral society. But instead, we increased the rate that we were putting climate change gases into the air. We, on top of that, borrowed enormous sums of money and then stuck you with a bill. And now you're going to have to fix all of that. And sorry. But for the first time in a long time, I feel optimistic. And that's because I met these people. When I first started teaching here, I was subbing a class for Allie, and she was asking me to evaluate some presentations. Okay, great. I watched the first one, and I think this may be the smartest high school student I've ever met. And then I saw the second one. I said, okay, these may be the two smartest high school students I ever met. And after a while, I started to think, okay, yes, it may just be that there's something about this school that attracts genius, but maybe it has something more to do with that maybe there's more genius in the world than I realized, and that there's something about this school that lets it breathe. So because of these people that I have come to know and the ones who came before, I actually think it is possible that you can get us out of the mess that we are dumping on you. Now, this is the part of the speech where I'm supposed to give advice, so I'm going to give you some advice. First, take Oak Hill with you. Be who you are. Change the people that you meet. Don't let them change you into them. Make them into you. And lastly, when you are in charge, remember that we created this problem, and so tax the hell out of us. Take it all. This country created 500 new billionaires last year. Make them millionaires, whatever it takes. The problems we created, we should have to pay for. And don't worry about us, worry about your children and their children. Thank you.
Thank you, Byron. I'd like to introduce, on behalf of the senior class, James Shaw, who's delivering the student speech. Jamie? Oops.
On behalf of the senior class of Oak Hill, hello, welcome, and thank you for coming. For the weighty task of encapsulating the thoughts and feelings that come with this momentous occasion, I feel both honored and nervous in equal measure. Traditionally, graduation is a transitional point in the lives of the graduates. It marks the end of an era where one is beholden to the adults in their life, and the beginning of one where they are their own adult. It's a bittersweet moment that most people have to go through, but everyone feels differently about. It's confusing in that way, even more so when you realize that, in a sense, we aren't the only ones here today who are graduating. At the time of writing this, I don't yet know what the other speakers are going to say, but it's hard to imagine that nobody has mentioned the elephant in the room, that this is the final senior class graduating from Oak Hill School. Today isn't just a send-off to me and my peers, but to the entire school as we know it. This is a graduation of the other high schoolers in the lower years, the teachers who have loved and supported us, and to the community that we've built. It's easy to see this and interpret it as a death, an entity that was slowly wasting away, deteriorating, then having its life support ultimately cut. Though I'm leaving Oak Hill either way, I'm incredibly sad to see the high school go. Before I was able to come here, I felt lost and unsupported. This school was able to be there for me right when I needed it the most. And I mourn the future opportunity for Oak Hill to help other kids in the same way that it helped me. However, I think this phrasing flattens Oak Hill into a sort of singular being, an entity that somehow magically put things together for me. This is the opposite of the truth. Every step of the way, what really helped me was the people I was able to get to know here. I formed close and supportive friendships with my peers, and even those who I'm not close with, I still feel I can have fun with without risk of anxiety or embarrassment. Above all, though, I think I speak for the whole senior class when I say the real objects of my gratitude are the faculty here. The adults who work here have never looked at me, nor anyone else, and seen a lost cause. They've treated us with love, compassion, and determination. They've always tried their best for us, and it was only because of this that we were able to try our best in return. The people we've met and the bonds we've forged won't go away just because the high school is closing. Every single one of us is still alive and breathing. And all we have to do to continue to be a community is to reach out and to love one another. In this transitional time, all any of us can do is move forward. None of us truly know what's ahead, but I've learned over the past few years that we're stronger together. As long as we can keep having compassion and understanding for each other, we have the capability to not just survive the world's cruelties, but to rise up and leave the world better than we found it. Thank you.
Now for my favorite part of our graduation ceremonies, the faculty members selected by the students will tell you a little bit about these wonderful people. So first, speaking on behalf of B. Arredondo Duran is Kat Tippett.
You ready? All right, hopefully I'm ready too. Whew. Thank you, Jamie, for your kind words. Thank you. All right, I'm supposed to be the adult here, B. I'm supposed to be encouraging. You can do it. All right, I'm going to just take a minute to recover and say a few extra words in addition to my testimonial. As Allie said, this is an Oak Hill tradition, so that for those of you who don't know each graduate, you get a chance to have a sense of who they are as people. And for the graduates that you do know already, you get a chance to see them through our eyes, the teachers and coaches who spend so many hours with them when they're not at home with you, right? So that is the intention. And as you know, since the high school is closing, a lot of us, we're a hot mess inside. We're trying to get through the last weeks of school, holding it together, right? But just down below the surface, there's a lot of emotions, as you just saw, right? So I apologize in advance if I become a crybaby. Even though there are usually tears at graduation, it could be that this year there will be even more than usual. So I know that this is not merely sadness, but it's pride. It's the fact that we're sending these young people out into the world who've meant so much to us and who we are so proud of. So thank you. Now I gotta calm down again. I'm so verklempt. Okay. All right. It is my pleasure to give you today's first testimonial in honor of B. B joined us this year from Mexico, although sometimes I forget this, since at times it seems like B's English is better than mine. B is a wonderful student, creative, curious, diligent, even-tempered, and quietly modest in their accomplishments. B is also an incredible artist. They had their work chosen to be featured earlier this year at the Lane Community College Gallery. I have also seen their work firsthand and can attest to the high quality of it, but more on that later. B is calm, good-natured, has an excellent sense of humor, and is an ally to all. B is perceptive about people and accepting of them, no matter where they happen to be in their own life journey. But my favorite quality that B exhibits is that they are just a fully decent human being. There are no other words to describe it. When it really matters, B will do what is right and do it with elegance and grace. To give you an idea of this decency in action and to return to B's artistic talent, I have an anecdote for you. Bear with me, it's somewhat lengthy because it requires context, but I'll do my best to keep it brief. As most of you know, I am, or have been, the high school French teacher, among other things. And this year I had one middle school student who had studied in France, and so for whose French was quite advanced. You know where this is going. So this middle school student, Gemma, was quite exuberant, and she would come in each day, and her request was to write or draw on the whiteboard. I don't know what it is about middle school, but that's what they want to do, is write or draw on the whiteboard. Since I had two in my room, I let her do this, and this kind of the secondary board became a place where students would leave art or sayings or quotes or messages to other students, right? So Gemma would come in and doodle around, and then eventually at one point in the year, she came up with kind of her signature sketch. She had a hastily drawn stuffed animal-looking panda bear that she named Grégoire le Panda Géant. So Grégoire the giant panda. No, right, Grégoire. And she would come in, and each day she would draw this on the board. Well, it turns out the high schoolers who had class after that didn't like it. They started looking at Grégoire and felt that he was staring at them and that he was creeping them out, right? So each day the high schoolers started erasing Grégoire, and then each day Gemma would start redrawing him again. So this cycle continued for a while, erasing and redrawing of Grégoire until the situation escalated. One day, instead of simply erasing Grégoire, I came into the room to see that the high schoolers had redrawn him in pieces as if he had been eaten and spit out by a stuffed animal-looking wolf. So Gemma retaliated by drawing two sketches of Grégoire the following day. And at times I wondered if I should step in to stop this brewing situation. But in the interest of cross-cultural communication and cross-divisional communication, I let it continue. When faced with now two Grégoire sketches, the high schoolers didn't like it at all, and they retaliated by drawing Grégoire again in pieces, but also this time on fire. Gemma came in the next day, saw the destruction, and retaliated in turn by filling the entire whiteboard full of sketches of Grégoire. There must have been 20 or more, all staring down at the high schoolers as I attempted to teach them about the passé composé, right? The French past tense. Since I knew Gemma was leaving soon to move back to Europe, I sensed that it was time to bring peace to this cross-divisional conflict. I took B aside, who I suspected was involved with the high school drawings, and just happened to mention that Gemma would be leaving the school soon, and hinted that maybe it was time to bring some resolution to the Grégoire situation. The next day I came in, and there was a beautiful lifelike drawing of a panda on the board with a beautiful note. It said, "Goodbye, Gemma. Thank you for the daily pandemonium." As you may have suspected, this drawing and this note were left by B, and this far exceeded my expectations for resolution. Right? I would have settled simply for no more erasing or no more drawings of poor Grégoire in pieces. But this really summed up like the pride I felt in being a teacher to excellent young people like B, and so proud of you for finding your own way to do that. I even took a photo of it, and I'll keep it forever. It's one of my teacher trophies. So I have to say, it's been my pleasure to be your teacher, if only for a short while. I hope that Oak Hill has come to feel like home for you, even a temporary one. I know you're going to head off to college, great adventures. If I have any advice to give you, it's simply to keep being who you are, because you're doing it right. Congratulations. I can't wait to see what your future has in store. Thanks.
Speaking on behalf of Anna Cass is Jenny DeLuca.
Yep. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of wisdom that I give all my students. I think you're going to love this. There is no bad weather. There's just bad clothing. So it's all good out there. Also, I'm notorious for not crying. And Anna's one request is that I make this funny. I always in my mind think I'm funny. Whether anybody else does, I'm not really sure. You ready? Okay. If you had asked me any time if I would be Anna's speaker before she actually asked me, I would have laughed and said, I don't think so. Anna and I are kind of like water and oil. But mountains grow, tectonic plates shift, things change, and here we are. There's a part of me that thinks after years of joking around with Anna about being her speaker, Anna has somehow outmaneuvered and outplayed me to get the last laugh. If this is indeed the case, Anna, well played. However, it came to be, and I'm happy and honored to be your speaker. For 13 years, I have taught Anna, and for 13 years, I have been on the receiving end of the most spectacular eye rolling ever. I have never seen, or have never seen since, a kindergartner roll their eyes at the mention of freeze tag or hot dog tag. Anna did. Over the 13 years, Anna has perfected the eye roll, and if eye rolls could kill, well, I'd be 6 feet under. I do want to warn Anna that someday in the middle of an eye roll, your ocular muscles might spasm and eject your eyeballs. So be careful and choose your rolls wisely. I think the rain is upstaging us all. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Excellent. All right. Okay, well, here we go. Anna afforded me the special opportunity to teach a horse, or perhaps she afforded a horse to take my class. Either way, Anna started bringing her horse Molly to my class halfway through her junior year. This is, of course, the time of Zoom PE, admittedly not the best medium for teaching physical education. Molly showed up every day, didn't talk back, never rolled her eyes at me. Molly always appeared in the middle of a pasture, staring blankly at the camera, just like all the other students, and seemed mildly interested, but mostly not, just like all the other students. The only part of Anna that I ever saw was the tippy top of her head, which would disappear when we did push-ups and rarely reappear. Anna would assure me she was working hard. Forgive me, Anna, if I was slightly skeptical. I have more stories, but they all pretty much involve eye rolling and Anna being slightly annoyed with me. So let me just tell you why I love Anna. As most of you know, Anna has a brother, a twin, born just seconds apart. Austin's life is hard and he needs constant care that I would imagine requires lots of time and energy. I know over the years, Anna has had to miss school to be with Austin when he's been in the hospital. I think for many young people, this might have created resentment and anger. But when I asked Anna about Austin, she told me this. Yes, it has been hard at times, but my brother has been a gift in my life. It was sincere and from the heart, and it spoke volumes about this young woman. Selfless, harboring no resentment. She just loved her twin brother unconditionally. Selflessness and unconditional love, two things missing from our society these days. and yet needed so badly to make this world an okay and safe place to be in. We need more Annas in this world. This actually speaks quite loudly to me because I had an uncle, Uncle Billy, who was like Austin. And I watched my dad and his other brothers love him unconditionally. And so having Anna tell me about her brother meant a great deal. Anna, we started here at Oak Hill in the same year, 2009. 2,210 school days ago, or 2,210 school days later, our journey together is coming to an end. That's probably about 12,000 eye rolls. When I show up next fall to start my 14th year, it simply will not be the same because Anna Cass, you will not be here. Please don't be afraid to stop by and join in my class. You know you will always be welcome. And please bring Molly. Anna. Thank you.
Okay, so here's the question. Do we power through or do you want to take a break and hope this passes over? Okay. We're just going to keep going. I mean, because at some point you're as wet as you ever can get. Right, okay. No bad weather. Okay, so speaking on behalf of Justin Cattell, no, let me reverse that. I've been having this problem. Okay, speaking on behalf of Connor Dote is Justin Cattell.
Connor. Oh, man. So yeah, I've got the privilege of speaking about Connor, and I hope most of you have gotten a chance to meet him already. And if you haven't, or if you have, I guess there's something that you should probably know, or that you probably already know, or something you should know, which is that Connor is probably the most inquisitive person I've ever met, and I say that with as much love as possible because there's truly nothing that I enjoy more in a student than somebody who's excited about learning. And every day in class, and this goes back to something I learned in Zoom classes during the first year that I got a chance to, that I was lucky enough to teach him, is that he was not afraid to ask questions. And I lead every discussion, all of my classes, with questions, and for that reason, Connor is my favorite student. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm throwing that out there. And that excitement that I watched Connor feel in those moments when he's asked that question, what's even more impressive, right, in my opinion, is that he takes that excitement and he carries it to the students and people around him. Looking back, I don't think that the last 2 years here at Oak Hill would be the same without Connor in it. Connor can walk into any space and fill the room with a warm feeling, which is not something that everyone can do. You overflow with genuine kindness, Connor, you really do. And everybody that you interact with, I think, knows that. And you're as genuine as they can come. You just raise everybody up and you interact with them. And that's all you can ask for as a person, I had a few. I was trying to think of my favorite memories that I could talk about with Connor, and a few came to mind. One, I really tried all year or for 2 years really, to get students excited about the science that they work on, and Connor's the only one who dived into that and came with me, and we actually worked together on a project in my lab at the university, and that stood out to me as Connor's someone who can take initiative and actually get things done. Another moment that comes to mind thinking about Connor and all the wonderful things that I got to experience working with him was the time Connor was my substitute. I was going to be gone on an odd Thursday, and I told my people, I told my boss over here, but I didn't want to, as the day came, I was feeling bad about being absent, and so I tried. I was like, "Oh, Connor, would you mind?" So Connor regularly came during one of the study halls to a lower level physics class, And when it was incredible to, you were helping me teach and showing that excitement that you really need to have an appreciation for the subject that I teach. And I asked Connor, I was like, I'm not going to be here this day. I have a prepared paper. Could you, if the students are struggling, they're going to work on this in their study hall. Can you maybe help them a little bit, just in case they get stuck? Would you mind? And at this point, I'm like not announcing it to my superiors that I'm going to be gone again. And I walked back into the hub after my last class, and here comes Connor walking in with Allie. And he's, I'm going to be Justin substitute tomorrow. And I wish I could tell you how incredible that made me feel in that moment to see someone who was that excited about sharing knowledge and helping people with learning. And that meant so much to me. So thank you for that, just that one moment alone, You're definitely going places, Connor. I hope you know that. You're, to name a few things, you're wicked smart, you're incredibly kind, and you have this deep desire to share that with people. And that's everything, I'm really honored that I got a chance over the last 2 years to teach you physics, to watch you grow as your teacher. I'm really proud of you. And I have a lot of good luck to offer you, but I don't think you need it. I think you're going to do great. So thank you.
Okay. Speaking on behalf of Mark, oh, nope, I skipped 2 people. Sorry about that. Speaking on behalf of Nicolas Umers Torello is Armando Morales, and a surprise speech.
Gracias, vas a ver. Well, I am very pleased to speak about on behalf of Nico for his graduation. And I thought, what am I going to say about Nico? And I can say many things. I can say the time we spend in our classes sometimes talking about the issues that happens in Latin America, the immigration that we have right now, we are facing. We can talk about the necessities of water that we have in our countries, or also of the childs that they don't have houses in Latin America. Many things that we spend talking about these things with Nico. But one of the things I let you know, Nico, I learned many things from you. Many things. First, you challenge me because I have Nico, he speaks excellent Spanish, and I'm going to teach him Spanish. And I say, well, I need to prepare for him what I need to do. This is a big challenge. Well, number one, I'm going to say to your parents, you raise a wonderful youth person, respectable, with human values, and very with a discipline. And congratulations, parents, to have this kind of a student. Number two, Nico, look around the sky. And we are raining. You remember when we talk about the metaphors? Well, right now, the sky is crying of happiness because you are having a new life, new challenge. And I'm going to read to you brief words of one of the well-known poets, Rubén Darío, and the name of the poem is Otoño en Primavera, Fall and the Spring. And you remember, Nico, all the time that I say to you, that say like this, Juventud, divino tesoro, que te vas para no volver. Cuando quiero llorar, lloro, y a veces lloro sin saber por qué. Youth's divine treasure, that you are leaving to don't return anymore. Sometimes when I want to cry, I couldn't. And sometimes I cry, I don't know why. And that is how is your life, Nico, now. The new moment. Now you have a treasure, your youthness, and you're going to decide how to spend that treasure. Then be careful with your new life that you're going to challenge. that you're gonna go to other world. You're gonna go to, you're gonna pass the ocean, and you're gonna go, I don't know, to Spain, or you're gonna choose Germany, and it's gonna be other kind of life. What I want you remember the discipline, do your homework, be at time, be respectable, but the most important thing, be the kind of human being that you are. Thank you, Nico, and I want the best for you. And remember, you have a friend here. Thank you.
I have the pleasure of speaking for Roya Kharaprast. What? Okay, well, this is auspicious as a beginning. Okay, well, now I can't look at you because I'm looking at you. Okay. In her first year at Oak Hill, Roya participated in an information night and, while laughing a little at herself, explained to prospective students and their parents that she tried to hate it here at Oak Hill and fought her family well beyond when she'd realized she'd found a home here. In so many ways, this commitment, in this case to situational anger, but otherwise to causes or people or a line of reasoning, helps me think about Roya. She's definitely someone you want on your side of the argument. She's got a way with words and wields them both as weapons and banners. She's also fabulous at finding the flaw, both in others' reasoning as well as her own, even if she's sometimes a little slow at admitting the last part. She's an amazing person, and so many of you already know this, of course. She's fierce in her passions, for ideas, for her friends, for a frustratingly poorly written series of novels, for rights which should be fundamental, and quick to jump in to defend people and ideas which have earned her beliefs. And for all that, Roya creates distance for herself, a quiet space where she commands calm and order. She's remarkably self-contained and private, all of one piece within herself. It wasn't until well into her first year at Oak Hill that most of us knew anyone other than the relatively sunny, academically serious student she let us know. She's slow to accept the help that would be so gladly offered. And I worry a little about her because of this. However, because she's fundamentally kind and wicked smart and just a little Machiavellian, I know this is an area in which she'll grow. In fact, my husband's quite certain she'll one day be president, and she'll need all of this if this is the path she chooses. And while I wouldn't wish the presidency on anyone I care about, sometimes people need to do brave things because humanity depends on responsible and wicked smart people. It's been a great joy to see Roya root herself at Oak Hill, to develop a voice in student government and in her classes, to laugh at herself and at the ridiculous, and to use some of her acting experience to bolster her confidence as herself. Whatever path she chooses to pursue in the future, I have no doubt that she will succeed. Okay, and now speaking on behalf of Mark Morris is Kitsan Means.
Can you stand over here? How are we doing out there? Okay. This is the Oak Hill spirit right there. A while back, I got a note from Mark, and it said, "Thank you for everything. You've always had my back." And I wanted to say that, Mark, you've always had mine. Even when it hasn't been easy, Mark always does his very best, and he has never let me down. One time when he was very little, we were doing a play at the Wildish Theater, and there was so much energy backstage that Mark got a little overwhelmed, went behind the theater in the alley, threw up, came back in, washed his face, and went back out on stage. And yeah, right, because he said the play needed him. Mark seemed to be drawn to the stage at a very, very early age. In fact, this is sort of how I will always remember Mark. He seemed to be this size for a very long time. My little buddy. In part, his journey has been an example of resilience. Okay. He started his time with me in the theater and also in public speaking. And amidst the clamor of lower school voices, he would sometimes need to isolate himself just to find some calm and solitude. Still, he always got his work done. And he was always able to find solitude on the stage. In fact, in one of my more frustrating moments, I felt a little overwhelmed and I left the classroom to gather my wits. When I came back in, there was Mark, little face, waiting for me to see if I was all right. This meant a great deal to me. Recently, Mark performed in his very last production at Oak Hill. It was bittersweet for us both. But the thing that stands out to me, even with AP classes and college trips and difficult courses, he made sure to fulfill his commitment to A Midsummer Night's Dream, and his performance was magical. Amid all of the obstacles that life has to offer, Mark always comes through. Resilient, but always for the sake of others. And through it all, Mark has always provided laughs. In fact, in spite of life's hurdles, Mark has found grit. He's found passion. He's found comedy. He reminds me of Mark Twain, the humorist, that said, "The human race has one really effective weapon, laughter." Of course, Mark's been making me laugh for years. When he's working on his comedy, his unique view of the world is centered and peaceful amidst the crowd. It looks as though he's found his place in front of an audience doing comedy. Working with Mark on comedy, I got a real peek into that complex and astonishing mind. What stands out as one of Mark's harpoons is the truth about himself, about others. He does use comedy as a weapon in order to give the audience not only laughter, but insight. He risks failure every week doing comedy so that he can provide for others. Like the royal fools of yore, Mark serves as a truth teller. But the last thing that Mark would ever want to do is hurt somebody at his hand. In fact, Mark is a soldier, and he would never leave anyone on the battlefield. This fact defines Mark, defines his true spirit, and his truth-telling is never meant to harm. Joy and laughter of others is always his goal. Mark is highly intelligent and insightful. He has an outstanding academic record and could easily become a doctor, a nuclear scientist, or a number of professions. But I know him as an actor and as a humorist. I've been Mark's teacher for over 10 years, and during that time, it has been my pleasure to watch him develop into a versatile, powerful performer and a very kind man. He will be attending Columbia College in Chicago, the #1 rated university for comedy. He will be working with teachers from the famous Second City improvisational comedy troupe. I sure wish I could be there. Knowing Mark is a little bit like being friends with Mark Twain. I gain wisdom, insight, and I laugh. True friends are really hard to come by. but Mark is a friend that I hope to know for the rest of my life.
Always makes me a little uneasy to follow Kitsan, but I have the pleasure of speaking for Lauren Rosander. No baby pictures. I don't have pictures of you when you're little. Okay. So I met Lauren shortly after I arrived at Oak Hill. She'd been roped into helping set up for a high school event while waiting for a ride home. And over the last 8 years, Lauren's just been part of the crew, helping to set up for high school events well before she could participate. In fact, this last August, I started to worry a tiny bit about what Oak Hill would be like without a Rosander in the high school. It's been a real privilege to get to work with all 4 of these remarkable young people. And as the youngest of 4, Lauren is a natural peacekeeper. She's learned how to wield power by lowering her head and digging in, and she's absolutely one of the most reliable human beings I've ever met. Whenever I get to talk with Lauren, one or both of us ends up laughing. Usually me, honestly, and usually because she surprised it out of me with her perspective or her wit or her willingness to be the butt of the joke. At the beginning of the school year, I even demanded she not talk to me for 2 weeks so I could recover from surgery and laugh without pain. And while I'd not been completely sincere in that demand, because after all, it's never her intent to crack me up, I was touched by how earnestly she followed my directions. And I know there's a notice on her calendar from last fall letting her know when we could resume conversation. And that thoughtfulness is sometimes masked by her happy-lucky demeanor. One word that comes to mind immediately for Lauren is competence. Not the C student version, but overwhelming competence. She's cloaked it in such an easygoing manner that the fact that she's equal to just about every challenge seems like it's natural rather than a breathtaking accomplishment. Lauren's learned that sometimes it's important to give 100% or to work until everything's battened down and perfected. She goes all out in science and softball, and I've seen how she competes in PE. And I know that the ferocity is part of her charm. She's learned, too, that sometimes good enough will suffice. That can surface, say, in a game that makes people laugh and run dizzily across a field while theoretically reviewing for human geography. And the ability to distinguish between the two has served her well so far. She prioritizes, performs triage on daily tasks, and moves on rather than worrying. It's an amazing skill and one that will serve you well as you move forward in nursing. Maturely weighing her abilities, her time, and her passions, she's able to both make those tough choices and live without regrets, and that balance is frankly dazzling. She throws herself wholeheartedly into so many of her pursuits. Softball, her work, defeating her peers in dodgeball or basketball, her relationships with others, acting, drumming. The world is a better place for her attention. Lauren's the person I'd want to have parachute in to defuse a bomb, because if she'd agreed to do it, I'd be confident that she'd succeed. Thank you, Lauren. Okay, so, and then I also get to speak for Jamie Shaw, and also super happy to be back. Okay, ready? No. Excellent. Let's go. So, Jamie Shaw, musical theater, theater people, desktop and live action role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons, comics, Upstart Crows, anime, Netflix watch parties, cats, and eventually dogs, drawing, creating, laughing, improving the world through determination, kindness, and honest, thoughtful action. Jamie Shaw. Jamie has grown so much in what feels like such a short time. Only a minute or so ago, it seems, we were in classics and comp talking about a project he'd turned in that didn't quite meet his standard. The big ideas were there, the understanding, the analysis, the desire to make it beautiful and thorough. And all that was lacking was enough time to manifest the vision. In solidarity with that younger version of you, though I've known about this speech since November, I wanted to apologize to you for not fully manifesting what I'd hoped to deliver today. Sometimes a little more time isn't enough. Some of my favorite memories of you are on stage, fronting bands at Roaring Rapids and Cosmic Pizza, enriching fools with physical comedy and child wrangling skills, up on the stage with Upstart Crows. Vitally, you've grown to inhabit that more self-confident person you used to put on like a costume. I've gotten to see you move from an edge of what, for lack of better words, we'll call the social scene in the hub, to being at the heart of it, welcoming others through the creation of Anime Club, through your real interest and compassion for people and where they're at. And it's made me so happy. Imagining freshman year Jamie ringing the bell at morning meeting and demanding everyone pay attention to Jamie and not to a character is a small daily reminder of how much you've grown. Wait, Lauren? Okay, thank you. All right. So the online school survivor stickers, your continued growth in the art, your jokes between songs at Cosmic Pizza, your frankly astounding footwear, your confidence as an athlete, the tenacity with which you've taken on math, the way you continue to persevere when faced with problems and challenges that might make less determined individuals seek a way out instead of routes over and through. Jamie, I'm pretty sure you've got this. You're a marvelous person. The gods wait to delight in you. It's been such an honor to watch you grow. Okay, you're up. I have a handkerchief. Okay. So, and speaking on behalf of Fernanda Torello is Kat Tippett. Oh.
I guess I should bring my paper with me. I know what you're thinking. Why did they let this one start and finish it? But I assure you it was just alphabetical order. Thank you for hanging in there with the weather. You are also patient and wonderful. And thank you for being here. So, Fernanda, this is for you. One of my favorite quotes is as follows. A foreign accent is a sign of bravery. When I hear this quote, I think of Fernanda. She is from Bolivia, and this is her third year in the US, but her first year at Oak Hill. I got to know her in AP French class, which is one of the 3 languages that she speaks. This quote reminds me of Fernanda not so much because of the foreign accent part, but because of the bravery part. It's not easy to move to a foreign country for the final years of high school. It's not easy to get to know a new place and a new culture, to do most of your assignments and schoolwork in not your first nor your second, but your third language, and to get to know a new social scene, new teachers, and everything that comes with it. It's not easy to defer your dreams sometimes for the sake of practicality. Fernanda has met these challenging circumstances throughout the year with bravery and with endurance. Fernanda is a good student, and although quiet, she is kind and funny. While her smiles are occasional, they are like little gemstones that appear from nowhere when they show up on her face. Precious indeed. And being the French teacher, I have to brag about her a little bit. She was awarded an honorable mention this year in the National French Contest, known as Le Grand Concours, which means that she was in the top third of all AP level students who took the exam across the country. So. Another thing that many here do not know about Fernanda is that she is a champion swimmer. In 2019, she was a member of the National High School Championship swimming team in Bolivia, right? Okay. I looked all this stuff online in Spanish and tried to translate it myself, so I'm pretty sure I'm correct, but correct me if you need to. And she also had personal championships in the 102-meter breaststroke in the National Swimming League Championships in Bolivia. For many reasons, as you can see, she is a remarkable young woman. Fernanda, as you move ahead to the future, my wish for you is that the difficult times of just treading water or just keeping your head above water at times are past, and that once again you'll be slicing through the water, even turbulent ones, with the grace and speed of a champion. Even though I have never seen you swim, the way you have met the challenges of the past year with bravery and endurance makes you a champion in my eyes. And so I say to you, félicitations, championne.
Okay, well, little sunlight for our awards then. So we have three awards that we normally give out at graduation. One is to recognize the valedictorian, who is the senior with the highest cumulative GPA at Oak Hill. And this year's award recipient is Raya Khodaparast. And then the next award is a community service award for service both in the larger world and to the school community, and to a commitment to building community. And these last two awards are given through, well, the faculty chooses. And this year's community service award goes to Lauren Rosander. And the last award is, well, I actually have two more. So the last voted award is given to the senior who best exemplifies the mission of the school to create caring and responsible critical thinkers. And it is my pleasure to give this award to James Shaw. Okay. And the very last award before diplomas is for Anna Cass, and it's her Methuselah Award because she's been here since kindergarten. Okay, and now for the good part, the diplomas. So I would like to ask Lynn Dixon and Cynthia Morris to come on up and, okay. So we practiced. I'm going to hand the diploma. So I'm just reminding everyone, I'm handing the diplomas to Lynn, who is going to shake hands with the graduates, and then they're going to shake hands, and then they'll stop in front of the pictures for a slow 5 so you can take a picture. Okay. All right. That's the plan. Ready? B. Arredondo Duran. Anna Cass. Connor Dote. Nicolas Umares Torello. Roya Kodaparast. Mark Morris. We have to shake hands with your mom, too. Lauren Trouble Rosander. James Shaw. Fernanda Torello Baudouin. So I'd like to present the whole class of 2022.
It is my most sincere pleasure on behalf of the Board of Trustees of Oak Hill School in this moment to pronounce the 9 of you as graduates of Oak Hill School. Please move your tassel from the right to the left. Congratulations.